For example, would you want your daughter doing that?
Probably not, no.
So then how could the mother of your daughter, you wouldn't be proud of the fact that your wife was doing that, because then your daughter's going to do that.
Jack Doherty finally ran into someone who didn't just smile and nod. Someone who didn't care about his cars, his clout, or how many girls he signed to OnlyFans contracts. And it happened live, with cameras rolling and 0 edit buttons.
They love clout, like they love this
But why
shit.
don't you be the
This
guy
is their-
that teaches them that that's not what happiness is about?
For once, Jack wasn't in control of the narrative, and the result was uncomfortable, raw, and long overdue. George Janko. Before the collapse, you have to look at what Jack Doherty has actually built. He didn't make his money through innovation and talent, he made it by turning women into products. His operation was simple: scout women, help them grow online, lock them into contracts, and take a piece of whatever they earn through platforms like OnlyFans. And for some of them, that wasn't just side income, it was life-changing money. But Jack always made sure the funnel led back to him. He didn't downplay it. He marketed it as a success. The way he talked about it, he wasn't just managing creators, he was saving them from failure. He took credit for their rise and positioned himself as the one who made it all possible. But what he rarely acknowledged was the power imbalance he built the entire model on. This wasn't a hands-off business. Jack involved himself in their personal lives, their mental health, their image. In interviews, he admitted that his emotional state depended on theirs. If they were upset, distracted, or wanted out, it threw everything off. He wasn't just collecting a cut, he was emotionally invested in their output. That's not structure, that's ownership. And when your day-to-day depends on managing people like that, it's not a business, it's a system built on pressure, where personal boundaries blur into performance. Jack was the centerpiece of it all, and as long as he stayed in control, he could keep telling himself it was smart, not manipulative. So when Jack sat down for what looked like another casual podcast, he thought it would be more the same. Run through the hits, drop some numbers, flex the lifestyle, but George wasn't there to nod along. He asked questions, calm, clear, and the kind that Jack never gets asked by his usual audience.
For example, would you want your daughter doing that?
Probably not, no.
So then how could the mother of your daughter, for example, your father set a good example for you. You modeled after your father. He went from building roofs after roofs, putting a roof above your head. And now, God willing, whatever the relationship between you guys happen, it's in God's will. But like, say you marry her, you wouldn't be proud of the fact that your wife was doing that, because then your daughter's going to do that. So if you don't want your daughter to do that,
Unless you make enough money to where your daughter doesn't have to do that. I mean, that's the whole goal with all this. So
yeah, but my guy, you have 35 doors. Your daughter didn't need to do that before she left your nutsack, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
She doesn't. She won't. She'll never. My daughter will never do that. Like,
That's what I'm
hell no.
saying. So don't let her mother do that.
The tone shifted when Jack brought up belief, asking Jack if he believed in anything beyond himself. Jack, thinking it was easy to answer, said he believed in God. That's when the question stopped being softballs.
So if you really believed in God, do you think that he's going to bless you with a peaceful heart when you're moving in this direction? Because you have everything to give you a peaceful heart. You have all the money, you have all the power, you have all the directions. You could literally point your finger at any point of the world and go, and probably conquer it. But do you think God will let you go with peace? Because you're collecting money from girls that are doing things that you know you wouldn't let your daughter do. So why would you think that your father, who also is their father, why do you think he would bless you if you're continuing to do this? You already have enough. You already have enough that you can say, hey guys, you know what? Let's scratch the contract. You guys go do what you guys need to do. If you want to continue or you don't continue. But these are blood money, and I don't want my hands to be a part of it anymore.
That wasn't an attack, it was a mirror. And Jack didn't know how to respond. He tried to brush it off, relying on his usual fallback, that it was their decision, that they loved the money. But George didn't let it go. He asked if Jack would marry someone who did what these women do. Jack hesitated, tried to ride the fence, said maybe that it depends. Jack's language around the women he worked with always sounded transactional. He'd refer to growing their platforms like launching a brand. He made it seem clean, organized, and professional. But the deeper truth was messier. He chose who to support, who to feature, who to elevate, and once these contracts were signed, he had control. Even when relationships ended, the revenue stayed connected. Jack continued to collect. He kept the back-end access. The deals didn't expire when the romance did. He stayed tied to people who were trying to move on. Again, that's not business, it's simply control. The worst part was how normal he made it sound. He could talk about helping a girl he dated make millions and still speak about her like a product he launched. The kind of thinking doesn't come from a place of care. It comes from seeing people as assets, and the more you normalize that, the harder it becomes to tell the difference between support and manipulation. OnlyFans management wasn't the end of the story. Jack's entire brand thrived on going viral, even if it meant crossing the line. Whether it was kissing the Island Boys on camera or linking up with controversial creators for quick headlines, he always had a reason. He'd explain it as part of a strategy, a calculated move to grow visibility, to bring in more money, and the truth, it worked. But just because something pays doesn't mean it's sustainable. Jack admitted that one stunt alone made him millions. He said it with pride, not discomfort.
That with the Island Boys?
I kissed him. That game money was good. Like, fuck.
That wasn't irony. That was the business model. So when George calmly asked why he kept going if he already had enough, it wasn't a jab, it was a lifeline. Jack could have stepped back for a second, acknowledged that maybe he didn't need to keep squeezing controversy for content. Instead, he laughed. He called the idea of letting go too emotional. Said setting them free sounded dramatic. He brushed it off like George was being idealistic. But what he really did was confirm what everyone had started to suspect. This wasn't about opportunity anymore. It was about control. Letting go of the chaos meant letting go of the thing that made Jack feel untouchable. That was never going to happen. Not because he couldn't afford to, but because he didn't know who he was without it. George saw that. Jack laughed it off. That laugh was the tell. He wasn't laughing because it was funny. He was laughing because it was the only move he had left. Jack's image didn't start cracking during the podcast. That was just when the world noticed. The damage started earlier with McKinley Richardson. When she spoke, it wasn't in a carefully worded post or a cryptic story. It was through police records and body cam footage. On March 24th, 2025, the exact day they broke up, she called law enforcement. There was no delay, no building drama, just a decision made fast because she said she didn't feel safe.
Bro, you called the cops on me in my own house after I've done everything for you.
You threatened me, Jack.
I didn't threaten you, bro.
She didn't say it in private. She said it to his face with officers present. That clip didn't trend because it was shocking. It trended because it was real, and Jack had spent years hiding behind a version of himself that couldn't handle reality. McKinley didn't leave him quietly. She coordinated the exit. She made sure officers were present. She told them there were firearms in the house, registered to her, and made it clear she wouldn't step back in alone. She said Jack had gotten physical the night before and a friend backed her up to the police. This wasn't speculation. These were statements made on the record. And how did Jack respond? Not by keeping quiet or cooperating. He hit a live stream. He said she planned it all, that she used him, that she staged the entire thing for clout. And when that didn't land, he called her unstable. He defaulted to a pattern, one that protected him in the past. Deflect, discredit, dismiss. Jack's relationship with Sam Frank followed the same formula, only this one went back even further. They grew up together, made videos as teens, then came the move to LA. The content, the relationships, the contracts, eventually they broke up. But the business side didn't. Jack still earns money from her work, still owns a piece of what they built together, still collects checks tied to someone he's no longer with. And when George asked why he hadn't let go of that money, Jack smiled, laughed again, brushed it off. To him, it was smart. To everyone else, it was another line crossed. Because keeping a financial hold on someone after the relationship ends isn't business. It's a power move. And the fact that he couldn't see the difference said everything. By the time Jack sat across from Adam 22, the descent was obvious. It was a matchup between two men who had turned controversy into income streams. They joked about managing women, about blurred boundaries, about things that should have been red flags, but were treated like punchlines. Jack didn't push back. He joined in. By then, his entire brand had turned into a string of reactions. Shock, deny, repeat. And it kept working. Until George didn't react like everyone else. George didn't cancel him. Jack did that himself.
Setting him free is crazy. That sounds insane.
Setting
him free. Oh yes, here you guys go. I'm so sorry for holding you multi-millionaires captive, as if I'm such a bad person. They're not being held captive. They all love this shit.
I'm not saying you're holding them captive.
They're like, oh yes, like they love money. All these girls love money. They love clout. Like they love this.
But why
shit.
don't you be the guy that teaches them that that's not what happiness is about?
I don't know. You tell them that, bro. They love it. Like I'm telling you, like
I'm trying to tell their landlord.
Tell them, bro. Tell them to double their rent. Like
I feel like I hit a nerve. Is that
Jack could have said something, anything. He could have taken the moment seriously. Instead, he made a joke, said the idea sounded dramatic, smirked his way through it. But for once, The room wasn't laughing. That one question shattered the illusion. Not because it was loud, but because it didn't need to be. Jack wasn't being canceled, he was revealing himself. And the part that made it all land, nobody interrupted him. Nobody stopped him. He walked straight into the truth and acted like it was just another clip. But people listened. And when someone finally stopped playing along, everything else started to fall apart. George didn't need to go viral to make his point. He didn't need to yell, drag, or expose Jack. He just asked the one thing Jack couldn't answer without tearing down the whole act. And instead of reflecting, Jack laughed. Because that's all he's ever done when things get too real. He just finally ran out of places to hide. And for once, nobody let him change the subject.